Iceland. It's known as the land of fire and ice, a place where, the planet's raw power is just right there on display. But if you're a learner and you need to grasp the island's whole identity, the geology, the history, the culture, how do you do that efficiently? In one trip. Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're focusing on the Golden Circle route. It's this tight, manageable loop, maybe 230 kilometers, starting and ending near Reykjavik. Our mission for you isn't just to list the landmarks. It's to really understand why those three big stops, Þingvellir, Geysir, and Gullfoss, are such a perfect shortcut to, well, the soul of the island.
It's arguably one of the most famous touring routes in the world, and for good reason, because it just synthesizes thousands of years of history and geology into, 6 to 8 hours. You get the raw power of the landscape. You can feel the geothermal steam, see the glacial melt, and right alongside it, you have the deep, deep roots of Icelandic society. And just for context, the name itself, it most likely comes from the Golden Falls or Gullfoss.
So let's start at the beginning, both on the route and really for the whole nation. Þingvellir National Park, and that's pronounced Þingvellir. What's truly remarkable here is that it has this dual UNESCO World Heritage status. It's recognized for its history and its geology.
Which is just fascinating. Because the history of mankind and the history of the planet are literally being pulled apart right there. Þingvellir is, it's the only place in the world where the mid-Atlantic ridge, that massive boundary between the North American and Eurasian plates, is visible above sea level. You can just stand there and look at continental drift happening.
And it's not some ancient fossilized thing. It's active.
Yeah.
We're talking about the plates actively pulling apart, widening that rift valley by how much each year?
By about 2 centimeters annually. Just think about that. It's this constant, slow, silent widening. When you walk through Almannagjá Gorge, you are standing on the very edge of the North American plate, staring across a chasm that gets bigger every single year. It gives you this incredible sense of deep time.
It's amazing to choose a place defined by constant, measurable instability for their most stable, enduring tradition. The foundation of their whole society. How did they reconcile that? A constantly moving foundation for eternal law.
That is the core question of Þingvellir, isn't it? This dramatic rift valley was chosen as the site for the Alþingi, Iceland's parliament, way back in 930 CE. And to be clear, this is the original site of one of the world's oldest functioning legislatures. They used the natural acoustics of the rift and this elevated law rock, the Logberg, as a stage. That's where the law speaker would recite the laws from memory to everyone.
What a setting. Must have been incredibly dramatic for doing serious business.
Absolutely. And it anchored Icelandic law for almost 800 years. It was the stage for these huge defining moments, like the decision to adopt Christianity around the year 1000. And then much later in 1944, this is where the Republic of Iceland was formally proclaimed.
And beyond the history, there's this unique activity you can do, the snorkeling or diving in the Silfra fissure. Can you explain what that experience is actually like?
Silfra is a crack filled with water, right in that intercontinental zone. The water itself is glacial melt that's been filtered for decades through porous lava rock. And that process, it just strips out all the impurities. The result is visibility that often exceeds 100 meters. It's probably the clearest water on Earth.
100 meters. That's staggering. But I'm guessing that water isn't exactly warm.
No, not at all. It's consistently cold, around 2 to 4 degrees Celsius all year. But you wear a dry suit, and the experience of floating, silently between continents, looking down into that clear blue abyss, there's nothing else like it.
That sounds incredible. But with something so unique and fragile, what are the conservation challenges? How do they manage the impact of thousands of people swimming in what's basically the purest water on the planet?
That's a critical point. The management is extremely strict. They limit the number of people. They demand specific certifications for diving, and they prohibit anything that could disturb the sediment. The goal is to preserve that pristine clarity at all costs. They understand it's a finite, sensitive resource.
And as you walk through the park, you also pass Geysir waterfall, which adds this constant soundtrack of rushing water to all that history. Okay, so we've covered the weight of human history and the silent movement of continents. Now we move a little east, and we find the real throbbing pulse of the island, the Geysir geothermal area in Halkadalur Valley. Here's where it gets really interesting.
It's just foundational to geothermal science. The English word geyser itself comes from right here, from the Great Geyser, or Story Geyser. It's the earliest documented geyser in European records. It's been active for about 10,000 years.
But the Great Geyser is a bit less reliable now, isn't it? It only really goes off after an earthquake.
Yeah.
So the modern star of the show is its neighbor, Stroker.
Exactly. While the Great Geyser is, moody and mostly dormant, Stroker, which means churn, is an absolute performer. It erupts every 5 to 10 minutes, shoots boiling water up to 40 meters, about 130 feet in the air. That consistency is what makes it so famous today.
I find the story behind its reliability fascinating. I heard its regularity was actually maintained because locals cleared a blockage back in 1963. It kind of shows that even the planet's scheduled activity can sometimes use a little human maintenance.
It does. That's a great little detail. And the whole valley just screams that you're in Iceland's western volcanic zone. You see bubbling mud pots, fumaroles constantly steaming, smaller hot springs. It's a total sensory overload, the smell of sulfur, the sounds of boiling water, and the visual reminder that there's just a thin crust between you and magma.
So does that geological power ever overshadow the human history we just talked about at Þingvellir? What do you think gets the more immediate wow from people?
The geysers get a very immediate, visceral reaction. They're loud, they're chaotic. But I think the human element is what makes the memory stick. And the power here inspires more than science. It inspires mythology. You feel that ground rumble, and suddenly stories about giants and gods make perfect sense.
I really like that image of the sleeping giant, whose restless dreams are what stir the waters. It gives this wonderful human story to a purely scientific event.
It's a necessary bridge, I think. The story of the giantess Gifjun, who is said to have carved the crater, it grounds the landscape in local tradition. These myths, they aren't just entertainment. They were the original attempts to explain the terrifying scale of geothermal power.
And our final anchor stop, just a 10-minute drive from Geysir, is Gullfoss. That's G-U-T-L-Foss, the Golden Falls. This is the waterfall that gives the whole route its name, right?
Yeah.
Because of the golden color from the glacial sediment and all the rainbows.
Gullfoss is just brute force. It's fed by the Chivita River, which comes straight from the Langokkel Glacier. The water plunges 32 meters in this really unique two-stage drop, first 11 meters, then another 21 into this deep 70-meter canyon.
The perspective there is unforgettable. You approach it from above, and it looks like the river just disappears into the earth. It's this incredible illusion. You can feel the spray, even from the upper viewpoint, which is thankfully open all year.
And the conservation story here is as powerful as the waterfall itself. It really gives you a critical insight into modern Icelandic values. In the early 1900s, foreign investors saw that raw power and planned to build a huge hydroelectric dam.
And this is where Sigríður Tómasdóttir comes in, a local farmer's daughter who basically became Iceland's first major environmental activist. She took on this foreign company to protect what she called her friend, the waterfall.
Her actions were legendary. She used her own savings to hire a lawyer, Svein Bjornsson, who later became Iceland's first president. And she would trek, sometimes barefoot, up to 120 kilometers to Reykjavik just to fight the case.
It's interesting, though, that she lost the legal battle. The court didn't rule in her favor, but she still won in the end. How did that happen? How was the company stopped?
Well, the company ran into financial trouble. And crucially, they failed to make their lease payments on time. So Sigríður's tireless pressure had already created this huge public outcry. But that technicality, the default, is what voided the lease. The land and the falls were then bought by the Icelandic government and protected. Her threat to throw herself into the falls if they started building, that's what cemented her legacy.
She died in 1957, having saved the falls. And she's rightly celebrated as the founder of Iceland's conservation movement. There's a memorial to her there today.
Yeah. So to give our learner the full picture, we should cover the popular add-ons, the things that turn this from a half-day tour into a full-day experience. Let's start with Kerry Crater, K8 Riff.
Kerry provides a spectacular visual contrast to all the blues and whites of the glaciers. It's a 3,000-year-old volcanic crater lake, and its walls are this fiery red and orange color from the iron-rich rock. It contrasts so sharply with the deep aquamarine water below.
It's basically a giant natural amphitheater. What is it, 270 meters long? And you can walk the rim or go right down to the water's edge. Right. And this is where the cultural aspect comes back in. You have to pay a small admission fee, which is unusual for a natural site in Iceland. But that fee is essential for maintaining the fragile slopes and the pathways, reinforcing that commitment to stewardship we just saw at Gullfoss.
And moving beyond the landscape, the Golden Circle is also a living example of how Iceland uses its geothermal energy for, everyday life, for its culture.
That integration is just seamless, especially with the food. The best example is probably Friheimar Farm, This isn't just some small greenhouse. It's a massive year-round operation, powered entirely by geothermal heat.
The statistics are just mind-blowing. They're famous for their tomato soup, served right among the plants, and they account for 20% of all the tomatoes eaten in Iceland. That's only possible because they're using the Earth's natural heat to create their own microclimate.
It's incredible ingenuity, but geothermal heat is also part of deep culinary tradition. Take rugbrauð, the rye bread. It's baked underground using natural hot springs.
That's what gives it that unique, dense, sweet flavor, right? The slow cooking.
Exactly. The geothermal steam gives it this gentle, even heat for up to 24 hours. You can see them literally dig the loaves up from the hot earth at places like Lagervot. It connects modern energy directly to the oldest traditions.
And for dessert, you have Efstadler Farm, that classic farm-to-table dairy experience. You can eat homemade ice cream while literally looking at the cows who made the milk. It really closes that circle. It shows you how the land supports every single element of life there.
So what does this all mean? The Golden Circle is, well, it's more than a scenic drive. It's a rapid, cohesive education in the planet's raw mechanics and the human response to that power. You've seen the birth of democracy at the Alþingi, the chaotic rhythm of the geysers, and the powerful conservation battle at Gullfoss. For the learner, this short trip gives you a complete, nuanced understanding of Icelandic identity. It's defined by resourcefulness and a deep respect for the volatile ground they live on.
It really is a lesson in contrast. The story that sticks with me most is that juxtaposition of these vast ancient forces and the attempt at enduring human law. The Alþingi gathered at Þingvellir for nearly 800 years, a testament to stability and rules. Yet the ground beneath them never ever stood still. It was pulling the continents apart by 2 centimeters every single year. You have to ask yourself, when human history and law strive for permanence, what happens when the very foundations of the earth they rest upon refuse to stand still? It leaves you wondering if true endurance is found in the stability of our laws, or just in our ability to adapt to the earth's endless motion.